Well, hey guys, how's everybody? I hope everybody's well. I hope I've got a good angle on this. If I don't, I apologize. We'll try again. Disclaimer, I ain't very good at giving instructions on this stuff. People out there are way better at it than me, but I've had several people over the last few years ask if I'd do a grinding video. A lot of people have bought these grinders or the grinders at Harbor Freight. We can do a video on that one if you want to. I can get any chain to cut with it, but I can get them to cut better with this grinder. But let's just say you've got online and bought your Oregon. This is a 410-120. This would apply even up to the larger grinders that use this design. I think the main difference in some of them is they've got a hydraulic brake, and the wheel will actually reverse when you switch sides of the chain. But with that said, this is what we got, what we're going to use. This is actually the Tech-O-Mech version, which is the same thing. Tech-O-Mech makes Oregon's grinders. Made in Italy. I've had it for several years. I've used it to death. It's good and smooth. It's a good piece of equipment. I think they're a little higher now, as is everything is. I think this grinder is going to set you back somewhere in the mid $200 to $300 range now, and I would say still it's worth every penny of that. But first off, what we've got here, we've got a loop of 325. It's 20 inch 50 gauge. I ain't for sure on the drivers. I'm wanting to say 80. Someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong. It's off my 4910 Echo, but like your older high top Poulan Pros or Craftsmans will use the same chain on them. Anyway, let's say that's what we've got as far as a chain. This is going to be a simple work chain, something that if you hit a little dirt, it's not going to immediately dull. If you put it in the ground pretty hard, it may dull, but if you're cutting some wood that's a little dirty, it'll be fine. These numbers are very passive. You're going to need your smaller wheel. This will come with 3 different wheels. I think this is a 3/16. Don't quote me on that. It's like what you would use to do 1/4 inch. I know it'll do 3/8 low pro and 325. They advertised it to do 1/4 inch as well, but don't hold me to that. But anyway, you want to pick your head angle on this particular chain. These are numbers I've ran for years on a work chain. Most of what we cut here is hardwood. On my larger saws that have a lot more grunt, I'll go a little more aggressive with, but these are good solid numbers you can use and they'll work. It's not going to be a fast cutting chain no matter how you set it up. It's not going to be a fast cutting chain with the head angle and the plate angle we're using, but your head angle first is up top over here. You see where I'm pointing at? I could have set the camera up different, but it is what it is, whatever. Head angle over here. It's got a knob you can loosen. Set it, pretty good size numbers, pretty easy to see. Right now we're at 60 degrees. That's the angle that this cutter, or this wheel, is coming down into the cutter. The next setting we're going to adjust on this one, it looks like it's already set where we need it to be, because I use these numbers a lot, is our top plate angle. You can either go by your witness mark. In most cases on a full chisel chain, regardless of manufacturer, it's going to be 25 degrees. Most of your semi-chisel stuff is 30 degrees. You know, it's why we buy the grinders, so we can alter things, make chains cut a little different. The steeper the angle, the faster it's going to cut. The less aggressive angle, you know, the longer it's going to stay sharp. 25 degrees is usually pretty good in my opinion. I know Oregon EXL, that's a really popular chain. Numbers on that are 55, 25. Then the next number we'll get into, which we're not adjusting here, would be your downward tilt. So if you were following the chain it'd be that little bit of downward tilt that you would put on the file, if you even do that. We're leaving it at 0. I leave it on 0 on 95% of the chains I grind. Ain't really seen that it made much of a difference at all. So that's where we're at right now. 60-degree head angle, 25 degrees on the top plate angle. And that would be the witness mark, like I said, the angle that you would hold your file at and file. So we've got that covered. From chain to chain, especially if it's going from like 325 or 3/8 low pro to 3/8 or 404, you need to set up how deep you're going to cut this. That's done by a knob back here. We'll tell you the deeper you go, you can set this to cut completely into the tie strap. I'll get the wheel about halfway in between the drags or your rakers, and keep adjusting that knob out till I can spin the wheel. Okay, we're going to move back in just a little bit. Right there should be pretty good. It's just barely scrubbing what little bit of the, I guess, gullet or ramp up through there, you want to call it, that's left from grinding before. Okay, then we want to adjust this back in, and I always like to adjust this plate back here, the stop, to where my cutter is about dead in the center of it. That's pretty close. You ain't gonna get it perfect, but that's pretty close. And I will adjust that from side to side, and it usually makes it to where I don't have to adjust how much I'm cutting off of the chain. Right there, I've got that adjusted too far in. We've got our knob back here. If you see me turning, it's got a knob and then like another little knob that's like a set to keep it from moving. That might still be a little much. We'll try that and see how that feels. What kind of cutter we get. And I'm set up right now to where I'm not going to be able to see what I'm cutting. You'll be able to see the furthest side end link, or it'd be your left hand cutter. You'll be able to see what's going on there, but you're not going to be able to much see what's going on with the right hand cutter. I like to hold against this when I crank that down, because you can move your base and then mess with your top plate angle. Okay, just to recap before we start grinding, what I'll do is I'll grind a cutter or two, and then I'll pause the camera, I'll run through that side. It would have been better to start from the left hand cutters where I could zoom in, you guys see what's going on. But just to recap, 60-degree head angle, the more aggressive you set that, or the lower the number, the more it's going to grab, the more aggressive it's going to be, the more chattery it's going to be. If you've got a saw with a lot of grunt and torque, choke it up, it'll be fine. You guys have seen how my chains cut. 25 on the top plate angle and 0 on the tilt, so it's basically like we're filing straight across, which there's nothing wrong with that. They'll cut. But anyway, we've got everything set and adjusted to the best of my ability. We've got it cranked down and tight. One more time. Should always double check. And once I tightened that chain down, that felt too tight to me. Let's try again. That's going to take a lot of material. We're going to back it off a little more. If you're someone that's in a big hurry, grinding chain may not be for you. If you ain't got a few minutes to sit and fool with this, to set it up, I think it'll be just fine. This grinder has a little bit of slop in the head of it. I think most of them do. Sometimes that can work out to your benefit. Sometimes it don't. But we're going to cut it on. You can see how smooth that grinder runs. I've seen some of you guys talk about the aftermarket ones, how they wasn't so smooth. I can zoom in, I guess, a little closer. And if you're grinding and you got burrs on the cutter, you're taking too much material. I know I'd mentioned in another video, you know, grind it back to all that comes up. I didn't mean a big burr. I think it was just a short, but you don't want it set on the cutter like that. You will burn the chain up. Grind till it quits grinding. That cutter's got a good beak on it. It's razor sharp. There's no burrs. Like I said, if you're getting big burrs, it could be just a cheap chain you're grinding, but this is a $15 Archer chain, China special. You're probably taking too much material, or your wheel may not be dressed right. And again, I'm no instructor. Take all of this with a fine grain of salt and do whatever you want to do with it. But we'll grind another. That chain actually grinds really nice. Got a nice beak on those cutters. I'm going pretty deep on that. I'm just right above the tie strap, and I don't know if I mentioned that. The deeper you go, say if you take it completely into the tie strap, you're gonna have a really grabby, really aggressive chain. And you know, depending on how you like the cut, you may like that. This one's pretty daggone blunt. It's been rocked, I think. See, when I get done grinding, it's done grinding. If you're still taking material, you're not done grinding, you're not set up. Again, back to you probably set up too deep. That one again looks like the other two, like a razor. And you know, and someone may look at this chain and say, well, I don't think that's sharp at all, but I'll promise you it's full. Again, like a razor, good sharp beak on it. What I'm going to do now, for sake of this video being a mile long, I'm just going to get back around to where we can get over to the other side. That way you guys can somewhat get a look at what's going on. Okay guys, I don't know how well that's focusing on that, but there would be a dull cutter. This cutter would still cut, but if the camera's focusing properly, you should be able to see how that corner, your working corner, is rolled over. Here's what you want. You want like a beak on it. You don't want it real pointy, or it'll dull really quick, but you do want a beak on it. That's your working corner. That's what causes it to grab and actually pull wood. Okay guys, so all we've done is got our top plate angle, tilted the chain around. I honestly had a family member here that watched me grind some chain, and he had bought a Harbor Freight grinder, and I've seen several people that did not know to do this, so don't pick at anyone or laugh at anyone. Just show them the right way. When switching from right cutter to left cutter, this will be our left hand cutter. This side of the chain's really still kind of sharp, honestly. A few of the cutters was smashed up. This chain was still cut, and it would still cut in hardwood. The cutters wasn't completely blunted off yet, but you shouldn't have to reset things back here, but on some occasions you might. But I like to adjust this to where right back in the middle of it. This is just the stop that you pull the chain back against, lock things down. This one's about wore out. I need to order a new one, honestly, but we've moved it around 25 degrees on this side. I got everything set up. We're just barely scrubbing, just barely taking any material. I'm zoomed in, so maybe you can see what's going on. I don't know. Grinders, you're against your stop, and that cutter is like a razor. It'll slice paper. Not sure if you can see what's going on through there. Maybe, maybe not, but once I get done with these, I'll pull it off of the tripod and we'll have a look. And where I started here, we had two cutters on the same side of the chain. One thing I want to point out, you do want to make sure that this thing is tight, your chain's not moving. Like, I've seen guys just not even move this and tighten it back up and just kind of smoke through the chain as fast as they can. What happens is that chain, if it's not clamped down tight, will jump and dance around. You're not getting a good precise cut on the cutter. I know, I've done it myself. This one's smashed to hell. It's gonna take a little extra effort to get it good. That's a lot better. I said that one's been smashed to hell. I'm not sure what in the world I would have hit to do that, but it is what it is. I like the look of the cutter, I like the feel of the cutter. That one's nice. That one before it that was smashed up, it's just you just do what you can with those. It's not gonna make or break the chain. That one feels real nice. These will slice paper. You could shave with these cutters. I must cut a railroad tie too with this chain. I'm smelling what is it, creosote? Is that what it's called? Someone will correct me on that. Whatever's on telephone poles and railroad ties. I know I did because of foundation under the floor of the gym next door in the front. And again, you might be able to see it grabbing my finger. It'll slice you open. I've been cut several times just by brushing up against one of my chains. That feels real nice. I'll grind one more for you guys. Let me pause this camera and see if we can come in with the digital zoom and get you guys just a little closer on this last one. Okay guys, I hope you guys can see what's going on there a little better now. Let's take this cutter from dull to sharp. I'm sure the blades are going to block your view. You're not going to overheat that chain doing that. Yeah, you can see a substantial difference in the way she looks. That one will cut and that one will pull a chip. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut you guys off, and I'm going to do what's left of these cutters and bring you back when we're putting it on the saw. Alrighty guys, there we go. There's what we're dealing with. That was one of the better looking ones. I ain't gonna lie to anyone, this chain was smashed out of shit and I didn't even know it till I started grinding on it. I mean, it'll cut. Next thing we gotta do is get the chain back on the saw and get the drags set on it, or see if they're within spec or where I would want them to be. Alright, so this is what I use. It's Oregon, it's old school. You can still pick these up. I think it sits them at around 25 thou. I've done a couple of them. I've moved the camera around for you guys. Hopefully you can see. It's pretty close. If you wanted a more aggressive, you can always take more off. I've got the other depth gauges, the Husky progressive gauge. I've got the one that's with the little file guide that folds out. Those work pretty good. This one probably would have cut. It's barely taking anything off. Probably would have cut that gone good. That old flat saw's seen better days. I think that's the cutter I said was smashed up really bad. I had to grind a little more off of it, put a beak on it. It's not taking a lot. I'll go ahead and finish the chain, meet you guys back at the test log. Guys, it's not bad looking chips for 325 chain. And to be hardwood.